about emotions. So let me know in the chat how many of you all think that emotions run your life in some way or the other. Do you think emotions run your life? You can just answer a yes or no. It's totally fine. Can you see my screen? Yes, okay. So I see the chat. Yes, yes, yes. And some of us even go ahead and call ourselves, I'm a very emotional person. I'm a very sensitive person, because we think emotions dominate our personality as a whole on how we react to situations or to people, right? So today we are going to understand a little bit about, is it really a bad thing to be a sensitive or emotional person? Is there a right or wrong thing about it? How do we actually interpret emotions the right way so that they add value to our overall life experience and not uh, make us feel like we are suffering more due to emotions? And there is also a misconception about how meditation or mindfulness deals with emotions. So we'll be busting all of those today. So let me begin. Okay. So I know most of you may have noticed what happens when a newborn baby comes into this world. What is the first thing that they do? A newborn baby, first thing that happens when they come to the world is they cry, right? And it is seen as a sign of being alive. Crying is not seen as something negative. It's a positive sign. It's the baby is healthy, the baby is doing fine. And at the same time, babies use crying for hunger, for not enough sleep, or if they have gastric issues. So anything, even before language was invented, emotion is the first thing that humans express themselves with. So it comes even before speaking, it comes even before language. So emotion is inherent part of being a human. Our overall human experience, it plays a very key and major role in how we interpret life, how we experience life overall. So that cry is the first expression of life, and that comes even before language, even before an identity is formed, even before the a person understands how things work in life, right? So it's not weakness, it's seen as a sign of intelligence for a baby, because it signals discomfort or need for connection, and all that. So a baby, we are all born as babies, and somehow as we grow up, we start labeling emotions as good or bad, and we are being taught and conditioned to believe that we shouldn't cry too much, we shouldn't be too angry, we shouldn't be sensitive, or shouldn't be too emotional. So slowly we begin to understand that it's not healthy to express emotions, and we start to manage them or to suppress them, and we also begin to hide them, right? But emotions were never the problem. Emotions are inherently a part of our human life, but at its core, it's not the problem. But how we let emotion take over our lives is where suffering comes. So let's see what emotion is, like, the basic definition of what emotion is. So the E in the word emotion is energy. So emotion is nothing but it's energy in motion. So whenever we feel a certain emotion, there is an energy that is trying to move through our physical system, right? So what happens is, it's at its core, our brain tries to interpret it. And all this happens within milliseconds. So our nervous system responds, chemicals are released, heart rate shifts, and our breath changes, sensations arise in the body. And that movement, that internal shift is what we call as emotion. So it's not random, it's not weakness, irrespective of what that emotion is, whether it's anger or sadness or joy or guilt or shame. It's just emotion. There's no it's a good emotion, bad emotion. And if we try to interpret and judge all that, we only create more drama in our lives. So the essence of emotion is to let that energy pass through our body, pass through our system, right? But the challenge is not that we feel emotions. Being human is part of being human is to feel emotions. The challenge is that we often are unconscious of them. So instead of allowing the energy to move, we resist it, we suppress it, or we let it completely control our reactions, right? So that is where the suffering begins. Uh, Usually, it's not the emotion that is the problem, but how we make stories around it, how we interpret it, how our life experience from childhood has shaped our way of looking at that emotion is what causes all that suffering. So we rarely are conscious of how we handle emotions in ourselves. And that is exactly the reason why we feel that emotions run our lives and it's not the other way around, right? So the goal is not to eliminate emotions because being human is equivalent to feeling emotions. That is, period. There is no questions about it. Even if you are a meditator, you're not a meditator, even Buddha experienced emotions. But how you react or how you respond based on those emotions is the core of experiencing life without suffering, right? So emotion is simply energy in motion, and we are going to understand this not just intellectually, but we need to experience it experientially. Something, once we understand, then we notice that something begins to transform in our lives and inside of us. So if you notice, as I said, energy in motion, right? Emotion is energy in motion. So when that energy comes and tries to travel through our system, first the body registers, our mind interprets. All these happen within milliseconds. So we are not even, aware. Especially if you are not into mindfulness and meditation, we are not even aware of how all these things happen, and immediately we react, right? We react, we just want to, we don't like that sensation in our body. For instance, when we are angry, there is a lot of you feel a lot of sensation in your lower part of the body, and there is sweating in the palms with anxiety. And if there is a hurt or pain, you see heaviness in the chest. These are different physical sensations that we are not very comfortable with, so we want to get over with it very quickly or just want to eliminate it, and that's when we try to react and we think that will end that feeling, right? But instead of, sometimes we don't even feel that feeling, we just want to suppress it, we just want to we don't even want that sensation in our body, so that makes us suppress it, so that makes us seek for distractions, which we are going to see ahead. So, first thing is, even before your mind interprets, you notice those sensations in the body. So, you may feel your chest is tightened, your throat feels like you're unable to speak your truth, you're unable to express what you're feeling, your side of the story. With guilt, you feel guilt and shame, you feel in the stomach, your stomach being dropped. So, that is the first sensation. That sensation is the first signal that that energy started moving in your system, in your body. So that begins in the body and it moves, the body registers it, and the mind tries to create its own stories of, tries to interpret it depending on your conditioning and your level of awareness and how you interpret the world. And based on that, the reaction comes. So the sensation is very natural in the body. The sensation in the body is natural, but the reaction that we give is learned. I mean, that comes from all these past baggages, conditioning, and our experience overall. So, because the sensation feels uncomfortable, we rush to react and we defend. We try to defend. We try to withdraw. Sometimes we become too silent. Sometimes we lash out in anger. We try to justify, or we just try to suppress with distractions like food or scrolling on social media or just staying away from people for a while. So what we rarely do is we don't pause. We simply feel. We feel, we react, we feel, we keep reacting based on those reactions. So as I said, the brain reacts first, right? So we have this thinking brain, emotional brain, that is the amygdala, and the body brain. So always the emotion comes first, the body sensation comes first, logic comes later. So your mind interpretation, the rational mind kicks in later. So you feel it in the body first, the emotion energy comes very fast, and then you try to interpret it and try to react on based on it. So there's a neurological reasoning for this, and as we've been seeing throughout this series since the beginning, uh, our brains are designed for survival, right? Our brain works on survival. And if something feels threatening, even if it's not a physical threat, even emotional threat, the body responds immediately because of how our brain is, right? So that's why sometimes we react so quickly and later think, why did I even say that, right? So it's not because you lack control, it's because the surge happened so quickly, even before awareness stepped in. Like it's beyond your control, is what we feel. That's why we feel like emotions are running our lives. So, but here is the powerful aspect of it. So though the surge is automatic, the response does not have to be automatic. And that space, that small pause where you pause before you react or and choose to respond is what is strengthened with meditation and mindfulness. So meditation trains you to notice that emotional energy earlier rather than being carried away with that all this impulse energy. It the meditation helps us with noticing that pause, wanting to pause before reacting. So rather than being an emotional storm, it becomes, you will know it when it's a ripple itself, right? That gap between feeling and reacting, that gap is what is emotional maturity. And that is what gives you a good emotional EQ also, emotional quotient. So next thing is the loop, usually the thought emotion loop. So, how emotion comes, how that energy comes is usually from thought, right? Thought creates emotion, and that emotion reinforces a thought. And doing this repeatedly, it forms a belief. And once it becomes a belief, it becomes an inherent part of your personality. And that's exactly why we feel like, you begin to make stories about yourself, about your personality. I'm so and so person. For instance, someone does not respond the way you expected. A thought arises immediately that maybe I'm not that important, or maybe they don't care about me. So that thought again creates an emotion of sadness or insecurity. And that sadness and insecurity strengthens more thoughts. Then you will remember past instances of when you felt insecure or when you felt you're not important. Then all those instances when you felt overlooked come into picture. And then again the emotion intensifies. Now, since the emotion intensified and you have all these thoughts running behind, you react defensively. So this leads to a belief, and that belief again influences your thoughts. Again, those thoughts give rise to emotions. So this is a loop. This is how the loop forms. So thoughts feed emotion, emotion feeds thought, and over time it becomes a personality. It's actually, this is what is called conditioning. So if we don't have awareness, if we don't have that knowledge to pause and keep repeatedly being stuck in that loop of thought, emotion, belief, we live inside those emotional loops and we feel that emotions are running our lives. So, with awareness, with self awareness, understanding that, oh, this thought triggered my emotion. So, how can I change that thought? Changing that thought will change my emotion, and changing my emotion will change my response. We step outside this loop. So, meditation helps with that awareness. And there is this famous or prevalent belief that emotional suppression is strength. So people say things like, you have to be strong, just don't be too emotional, you have to be strong. They think they equate strength to not showing emotions, which is absolutely not true or not real. Many of us are taught that way. It's conditioning to believe that strength means not showing emotions. Just saying I'm fine or trying to keep yourself too busy. We try to distract ourselves. with trying to suppress it. But once we suppress emotions, it doesn't go away because it's energy. We are just postponing that energy. That's how it gets blocked in our physical body, and that's how it causes all our physical ailments. So suppressed emotion does not disappear. It's not, definitely not strength. So suppression only causes, it's more dangerous because it causes these emotional blocks, which are also explained through our energy centers or the chakra system in our body, where each chakra which is imbalanced signifies that a certain emotion is blocked within our system. So when a emotion is pushed down, the energy doesn't vanish, it just stays in the body. Like unexpressed anger over time becomes chronic irritation. Unprocessed grief becomes heaviness, and unacknowledged stress becomes exhaustion or burnout, right? So the body remembers what the mind tries to ignore, or try how we try to distract ourselves with social media and all mindless scrolling without actually feeling that emotion. So the goal is never to become emotionless, and suppressing emotion is definitely not strength. The goal is to fully feel emotions but respond or act consciously and not react or snap out of reflex, right? So the emotional blocks, as I said, when we suppress emotions, when we try not to feel those emotions in our system or body, they become emotional blocks in the body. And emotional energy, when blocked, that is not processed, becomes blocked energy, and that blocked energy again gives all our physical ailments or diseases. So emotions like fear, shame, grief, unspoken words, not able to speak your truth, or fear, a lot of shame, right? Guilt, all these get, if they are not felt or expressed at some point of time, they get stored in the body. And there are certain, and these emotions depend, where they are stored in the body is again linked to our chakras. Like fear can make you feel like you're not stable. So the root chakra gets affected. Shame sits in the stomach. Grief in the chest, in your heart, the heart chakra. So unspoken truth, like not able to speak your truth or express yourself, is the throat chakra. So that gives rise to blocked throat chakra, gives rise to thyroid issues, right? So every, even the ancient energy system, there is a chakra system, describes these emotional blocks and how it's linked to our overall well-being. So you don't have to go to that depth, but just developing that awareness of where you're feeling that energy of emotion in your body is enough to understand, to bring that awareness to pause and then feel it, process it in a healthy way rather than suppressing it, and that will really, that's how a healthy emotional person is, a human being is. So what we usually do to escape, to rather than processing those, difficult emotions, people try to, they don't want to feel those emotions. So they try to escape with distractions or scrolling or watching too much TV, binge watching Netflix, food, emotional eating, right? Emotional eating is a problem for many of us. We try to seek comfort in food. We immediately go to a desert. Rather than feeling that emotion, we seek an escape in food, and also trying to be too busy, too productive, without feeling that emotion, which becomes a block over a period of time. So now that we understood like why emotions are important and uh, how we feel that emotions are running our life due to lack of awareness, let's see how meditation helps. This is where meditation comes into picture, right? So what, as I said, what meditation does is it increases awareness. First thing, you will create that separation between yourself and your emotion. You will not, just because you feel angry, you won't call yourself, I'm an angry person. I experience anger. I experience joy. I experience guilt. Every emotion is equally the same. It's just energy moving through our system, rather than saying I'm an insecure person. Don't We don't make it an identity of ourselves. So we develop that awareness that emotion is just energy in the body, energy that we feel, it's a sensation that we feel, and it's part of a human experience. We try to process it in a healthy way and we pause before reacting. It increases mindfulness. As I said, you come back to the present because meditation helps with mindfulness. Just because you are angry at someone, all those thoughts of past hurts, past emotions, they come rushing back when we are not mindful. So, meditation helps with being aware in the present moment and understanding if that thought that is coming in your mind is helpful or not, if it's adding to that emotional loop or is it trying to break you from that loop. That awareness builds. And once we develop awareness, the most important thing is it gives us a choice. Awareness always gives us a choice. We have a choice whether we want to continue in that loop or we want to switch our thoughts. Because switching the thought changes emotion and we can come out of that thought emotion loop, right? And we learn to respond rather than react when we are angry or when we are somebody saying painful words. We pause, we understand from all this wisdom and meditation that people react and talk based on their own experiences. We don't have to personalize it to ourselves for agreements, right? So we respond in a right way rather than reacting, and that your peace stays intact irrespective of the emotion. Your peace stays intact and there is reduced suffering as well. So there is this famous model which is quite popular in the mindfulness space called the rain method, to how to healthily feel emotions. When you experience certain emotion, especially which is your dominant or heavy emotion, rain stands for the word rain, R stands for recognize. Recognize the event or what the trigger is and what emotion that you're experiencing. So name that emotion. I am feeling anger. I am feeling shame. I am feeling fear. That's it. Just recognizing that emotion rather than making it your identity that, I'm insecure, I'm angry person, this shouldn't be happening, I shouldn't be feeling. No, we just recognize that emotion of what is happening. And then comes A. A is accept. Accept or allow that experience or emotion to exist just as it is. That is feeling the emotion in the body without suppressing. So it is a sensation in the body. Just let it feel and pass. Accept it. Allow it. And then I. I is investigate. This is what develops with awareness and meditation. Like you investigate, once you process, you feel that feeling, you try to process it. Like you understand, why did I get that anger, even irrespective of whoever is saying whatever. Why am I feeling that anger or why am I feeling that shame? Investigate yourself, like what thought has triggered that emotion. So you can use journaling for this. You can look back at your past inner child wounds or conditioning and all that. So a genuine curiosity, curious attention to yourself, rather than blaming the circumstance or the other person. And then N stands for non-identification, or also nurture is also another word that's often used. So you're not identifying with that emotion, that thought or emotion. You're letting it pass through your system. There's a clear difference between yourself and your identity and the emotion. You're not making it your identity, because most suffering comes when we make emotions and all these stories our identity. So knowing that non-identification is essential, and it comes with awareness and it comes with mindfulness and meditation. Knowing that you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions. And then breathing techniques, box breathing, pranayama, all these also help practice that pause between feeling an emotion and responding. So, some healthy ways to process emotions, right? We've seen feeling emotion, suppressing is not healthy. But once you feel the emotion, how do you process it? As I said, journaling is an excellent way to investigate the I in the RAIN model, right? RAIN method. You investigate, why are you getting triggered? What thought triggered that emotion? And it helps calm down and clear that mental noise in our head. And pursuing creative pursuits creativity, like being art or dance or music. It helps transform those feelings and that emotion, that energy into expression, which is a gift to the world, right? All those musicians, songwriters, great artists, this is how they express because they feel deeply. They feel emotions very deeply. So they channel that with expression, and it's a very healthy way to process. Another very easy way and very thing, something that is available and instant for everyone, is nature. Nature regulates our nervous system. So doing grounding, hugging a tree, walking barefoot on grass, um, these are really healthy ways to regulate our system, to let that energy, that emotional energy, pass through our system and process it. And another one is movement, exercise, yoga, dance. All these are healthy ways, especially for anger, heavy emotions like anger, uh, rage. All these movement is excellent for that. It releases all the stored energy because emotion is energy in motion, right? We need to let go that rather than it being a block, we need to release that tension from our body. So movement really helps with healthy processing. So it all comes down to self awareness because you are experiencing an emotion. Self awareness builds that muscle, and this comes with meditation. Meditation increases that strength to pause before reacting because it improves your ability to respond. It improves your ability to see emotions both in yourself and also in your relationships. You become a more patient, kind, empathetic person with self awareness and mindfulness. And you realize that emotion is something you experience and you are not defined by it. So there is a clear separation between yourself and the emotion that you experience. And I'd like to end with this quote, which I really like. So, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. So, that is where the choice is. So meditation strengthens the ability to choose. And this is where between the trigger, the stimulus, and our response. And Frankl is a great psychiatrist. And this is something that really helps with understanding that emotions are add value and beauty to our human experience. And they are not roadblocks. And they are not definitely not a cause of suffering. So thank you so much. Back to you, Swarupa.
Thank you, Srijana.